let's get to some unfortunate news. The U.S. loses to Mexico in the Gold Cup final. Um, so who watched the game with sound on and has a better idea of what happened?
I I was on a plane and I purchased Wi-Fi to try and watch it. Did not the Fox I had to download the Fox Sports app with the Wi-Fi, plain Wi-Fi. Didn't end up working until literally the last minute of the first half, and then I saw the score and I was like, well, fuck. I missed a lot. So I watched the second half with sound on a plane.
Ugh. DPG, you were I saw some reactions.
I got pissed. I was pissed. You know how I feel about the Mexican national team. Like I've dwelled, like I have told you guys how I felt. Especially, being Honduran and, watching your national team sometimes get thrashed by Mexico. So it sucked. But you know what? I don't think this was our Gold Cup to win. Not with the roster we were carrying. And
Yeah.
I mentioned this before to the guys is, we were really kind of almost going in with an experimental roster. Bunch of MLS guys, some guys in Europe that are kind of hit or miss in playing time. I wasn't expecting much. I'm even surprised they got this far and didn't get knocked out in the quarterfinals or semifinals. So
yeah.
Well, they went to penalties against Guatemala, right? I mean,
Costa Rica.
I'm sorry,
Costa Rica.
You're right. Which I mean, that was nervy.
Yeah.
That
game was chaotic. Yeah, should have been. If it was a better team, it would have been less chaotic.
Well,
but
so
my thing was that. Well, go ahead.
No. I was just gonna throw this out back to you. Did Mexico win this, or did the U.S. lose it?
Lost it.
Both. I want to say both. Mexico came in with a full roster. It was theirs to win. U.S. came with an experimental roster. Not to mention, part of it is not Poch's fault. And I say a small part of it is not Poch's fault. Just because he did have players that didn't want to participate, which is never. You can't blame the players for looking out for themselves. At the same time, you kind of have to question their commitment for this project. So it's hard to go either way.
It's a bad look, definitely.
Yeah.
Well, if the Federation had done its job and moved on from Greg instead of thought about it for 6 months after they already had an easy out and then hired him to do nothing, then they already would have all the chemistry in the world, and it'd be like, cool, every C, D, and E tier player, get on the field, let's find that one gem. But that's not what the Federation did. And honestly, I'm starting to, so I want to get to some of the on the field stuff, and we're going to talk about the winners and losers here in the camp, but or the tournament, I should say. But Pochettino is starting to scare me. I screamed and yelled and wanted a foreign coach, but I don't think he knows what he got into. Not to be the bleeding heart here, but let's all these things that he's talking about, let's not pretend what the political climate is like, and then he's like, oh man, I'm jealous they went to the White House. Dog, that's not your target demographic with this team.
To win for Trump.
Right? Yeah. That's not your target demographic. And then he's like, what the hell? Why is this a road game at home? Dog, has no one told you what you signed up for? He just seems completely clueless and he just doesn't have a grasp on what he signed up for. And I think that's fine if he had 3 more years.
But here's the thing too, is that we also have to take into account that this is Concacaf's tournament. This is not U.S. Soccer Federation's World Cup qualifier game. Because if it was, they would definitely not put it in California. They probably would have put it somewhere, Ohio, somewhere northeast. They might as well play it in Alaska. Yeah. So, the team looks sloppy. There's no game plan, and I think a lot of it too is that there's a difference between managing a club, versus managing a national team, and I don't think Poch has grasped that yet. Because with a club, you see these guys every day for most of the year. You can literally train, spoon feed these guys tactics all the time. With the national team, it's piecemeal. You might see these guys a couple of times a year. You might have maybe a couple of weeks of training, and that's it. At the same time, you kind of have to question, like, there's no chemistry, and at the same time, it's like the roster he picked was kind of a head scratcher in a couple of spots.
Yeah.
Well,
and I think it showed on the field. I mean, there were just a few moments where you're just seeing some of these guys get absolutely worked, and you're just like, it's embarrassing, like one-on-ones. And then the lack of subbing, like he didn't sub until we're down. Once we're down by down by 1, it was 2-1 for the last 15, 20 minutes of the game. He doesn't sub him until Mexico did score. So then he subs 5 minutes after that, and it's like, well, it's not going to help.
Too little
with the subs that we have. It's not.
Too little, too late. So now that you brought up the in-game, there's the one moment, right? There's the huge moment that everybody's going to talk about being aggrieved with the handball. Now, I have a tiny bit different take on this, but Serena, what did you think when that was not called for a handball?
I mean, I was watching it live. That was the part I saw live, and it didn't. I mean, I don't know. I can see it not being. I think by the rules, it's not a handball because he didn't block the ball. I mean, it was kind of. I think it was the weird part was that it's kind of stopped gameplay, and it was stopped by him putting his hand on the ball. But I feel like he didn't block or use his hands for the game.
But it's funny that gets brought up because there's been tons of instances of getting handballs calls for like the worst things, like your arm was sticking out a little bit, that's a handball, or it's not in what they call it in a
natural position.
Yeah. If you're falling on the floor and you throw yourself, well, not throw yourself, but at least you put your arms out and it lands on the ball and you stop play, like at that point it has to be considered a handball because you're technically stopping play. You're technically, preventing on someone else from kicking the ball because you're holding it with your hand with all your weight.
Yeah.
So,
my real take on this is that I think slowed down, it looks egregious. It looks awful. It's the Zapruder film, right? But like in the moment, it's so fast. He is balancing himself. And to be fair, no one was near that ball. There was 3 guys sliding the other direction. No one was near it.
That's kind of and that's kind of what I mean. Like it wasn't like he was stopping play by the other team. It was kind of almost like it was almost already going to be a break in play, and then the timing of it, and then he fell on it. But I still do agree. Like if we're calling other handballs, then I think that makes sense that should be called too, and that wasn't.
Like my favorite thing is when players jump up with their arms up and they're trying to like do it for like elevation and stuff like that, and the ball hits them and that's a handball. Because it's you get more momentum if you use your arms to jump up versus just trying to jump straight up with your arms down. But that gets called a handball, but not this. So
it is not consistent, but that's the name of the game for Concacaf. Part of me. So the first thing I thought of, and I don't know what the nationality of the ref is, but I've got it's story time here. The very first thing I thought of is in the 1966 World Cup, England won extremely late in extra time, right? And it was one of those balls that hit the top of the bottom of the crossbar and went straight down.
The crossbar. Yeah.
And years later, near his deathbed, the Russian ref, because it was England versus Germany, right? And the guy goes, "How did you know that was a goal?" And he said his reasoning was Stalingrad. So, like, let's not pretend that the U.S. didn't open up a concentration camp the same week as this game. Like, things like that happen. So, like,
you know what, man?
Yeah,
you got a point there. You kind of have a point because I think the referee was from Costa Rica or Guatemala.
Guatemala, I think I'm seeing, yeah.
It might have been Guatemala, and it's like, why couldn't the CONCACAF just get a ref from like Europe, like fly a guy from Europe? Just bring a neutral guy. I don't care. Bring him from Africa. Bring him from South America. Asia. I don't care. Bring a neutral ref. A neutral ref neutral ref team to, there, no bias. There you go. Just make sure they're not from Iran.
Idea. I think that's a phenomenal idea. So, anyway, that was the one play. I mean, nothing could be done on the goals, right? No. So, like let's talk about.
I kind of hate arguing like, oh, we would have won if we had a part of me is like just resistant to the handball thing, just because I'm like, I hate when we lose. I just hate that, like when other teams do it, I'm like, it's so annoying. Just if we had played better, and especially in the last quarter of the game, I mean, they're just not. They clearly.
Ajiman's not the guy.
Team, so.
Yeah, Ajiman is not the guy. And I told you when he missed that shot in the second half, I'm like, yeah, he's not the guy. He
say that.
That was the chance.
Yeah, so he hoofed it off like someone I know that did the same thing yesterday, but that's besides the point.